What's going on, everybody? This is Living in Arizona Now, and today we're going to talk about things that can kill you in Arizona before anyone starts panicking and freaking out and thinking that Arizona is dangerous. Look, this is a video that came by popular demand. I think Arizona is relatively safe. Every place has its own risk. It's just people want to know specifically what in Arizona should they be aware of that exists that's different than, say, New York or Florida. I mean, if you're down in Florida, you got to watch out for sharks or alligators. If you're in California, you got to watch out for pumas or who knows in California, right? Great white sharks off the coast. I mean, it doesn't matter where you're at. There's going to be things that can kill you. Arizona is just one of the states, one of the places in the world that has things that can kill you. That's why we're talking about it. So please don't freak out because people think, uh, you know, it's the end of the world if there's something out there that can get them. Thanks to everyone who smashed up the likes. Let me know where you guys are tuning in from. Jay Northrup, right off the top, he says, bad drivers. That's actually a big thing. Wrong way drivers. We're going to talk about that and a lot more stuff. Smash up the likes, everybody. Let me know if you guys can hear me loud and clear. Let me know where you're tuning in from. Thank you, Jay, for tuning in and letting me know. Falcon Strike from Brea, California. Is that are you in that area of California? Anyway, what's that? Brea, California. Is that in Los Angeles Metro? That's where the tar pits are, La Brea. Greetings from Glendale. Okay, so let's get into this. Thank you to everyone who's smashing up the likes and tuning in. Let me know where you're watching from. Okay, so first up, this is a live stream, by the way. I am doing one-on-one consultation. I've already done a couple one-on-one consultations now, and people who are thinking about moving to Arizona, they want some additional information. They want to get me on the phone. They want to get me on the email. Check the link down in the description or in the comments if you guys want to book a one-on-one with me, and I'll make time for you. And the main thing is getting you what you pay for out of that, right? Get you what you're looking for, the information. I'm going to do the best I can. I'm not, I'm just one guy. And if you trust me enough to give you some additional information, then let's do it. All right. So the very first thing, obviously, it's the weather, the heat. People are even having this conversation about, is Arizona becoming uninhabitable? It's getting so hot so consistently. I mean, in the last few years, we've had days where they go beyond 110 for the most days in a row, right? It's crazy. Like, how do we keep having new records broken? I mean, we're getting close. I feel like sooner or later, we're going to break that 122, 123 degree mark, and everyone's just going to be like, whoa. There's even this conversation going on about saguaros that are dying off. Now, people think that that's just propaganda, and I'm not one for propaganda. I don't believe in all the propaganda that's out there, and I know there's a lot of propaganda about climate change and all this stuff, and I'm not saying climate change one way or another, but people are saying that it's BS. I'm saying no. Actually, as someone who grew up in Arizona, I am noticing that the saguaro cactuses are not looking as healthy, and things go extinct. Now, you could say it's not man-made, although it would be hard to dispute that, because one of the reasons why it's hard to dispute that in this particular case, before you jump down my throat and start telling me it's not man-made, the concrete jungle, the paving of the desert, that does create a heat shield. That is one of the reasons why I'm pretty sure, now I'm not a scientist for sure, but I'd be interested to hear anyone try and tell me why they think that paving the desert has not made it hotter and stopped some of the monsoons from coming into the valley. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of common sense. I mean, you pave the desert in all different directions. You've got asphalt over here. You've got concrete over here. You've got just all this. It used to be just, dirt, clay, caliche, whatever. And then you create this big urban heat shield. And I'll tell you where man-made stuff has happened in Kauai or in Lanai. I remember Lanai is actually a desert island. They planted a forest on the top of the mountain. Now they actually get rain because the forest created rain. So, I mean, they can create man-made forests, and man-made forests can create rain, and you can have the inverse effect. You cut down the forest, it's going to have an impact on the environment, and it's really hard to debate that. But I get our argument about the propaganda. I'm not one for propaganda. I just want the facts, and there's a lot of people who are trying to sell fear and all this stuff so that they get to move forward. But in Arizona, with the monsoons not coming in, we are breaking records for most days over 110 degrees. But also, if we look beyond that, what's happening with the saguaros and stuff, people who've lived in Arizona for years, I'm not just talking about someone who came in from New York 10 years ago and says, oh, it's getting hotter than I've ever seen it. I'm talking about people who are in their 60s and 70s who live in Arizona, and they're saying it's getting hotter. Now, I've said this many times in this channel that I believe that, Earth has always in history gone in and out on cycles into ice ages, out of ice ages. Global cooling and global warming have happened naturally just as cycles, just as seasons. It's like we have 365 days, we have 4 seasons, right? Cycles happen in a 365-day calendar, but they also happen in maybe like a longer period where you go in and out of periods. I mean, we've seen that even if you look at what it said in some of the history books about Egypt, okay, was a fertile plain. Mesopotamia was a fertile plain. Look at it now. Look at the petrified forest. So I'm just saying it is getting hot. The heat can kill you in Arizona. We've seen this time again where people go hiking at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, especially visitors. People who are from out of state, they think they can climb Camelback Mountain at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, go all the way to the top with a little bit of water. They forget water. They know it's hot, but they're like, oh, because dry heat, it doesn't hit you too quickly. It's one of those things that all of a sudden you're like, whoa, the heat just hit you. So you'll be going and you'll be feeling good for the first 10, 15 minutes, but all of a sudden you're like, whoa, am I all right? And then you're up there on a mountaintop and there's no real shade. There's no escaping that heat. So that heat can get you. Thanks to everyone who's smashing up the likes. I see everyone tuning in. Mary says, I watched your videos 2 years ago in Oregon. Thanks to your information, I'm now in Chino Valley. Nice. I'm happy to hear that. Hey, what's going on, Drunken Chef? Good morning. Passing through. Nice. Someone says, hello from Tenino, Washington. Moving to Arizona next year. Would love to connect for the consultation. That's great, Kim. All right. Yeah. So, someone says, I always found it weird how the saguaro cactus completely disappear when you cross the Colorado River into California. I know, isn't that so weird? And like, even when, you could say that right when you get up into like past Payson, the saguaro cactus just kind of disappears right when you get to the Mogollon Rim, right? But there's a lot of saguaros even into Mexico, but they don't call them saguaros. They call them something else. I can't remember the name of the saguaro down in Mexico. They even have saguaros down in Chile, but I hear what you're saying. Like, why does California, Mojave Desert, Joshua Tree not have any saguaros, only Arizona? Great comment right there. What's going on, Chad from Mesa? Oh, is the feed not coming in? Can you guys see the feed? Is this coming in loud and clear? Let me know if you guys can. All right, so we're going to keep going. So now let's talk about some of the animals that we have in Arizona that'll get you if you're, not paying attention. But the big thing is rattlesnakes are probably the big thing that you got to be on the lookout for. I know that's not something you want to hear, but it can happen. It's rare. It's rare. I mean, I've hiked in the desert countless times. I know that sometimes when I'm hiking in the desert and I'm just wearing tennis shoes or even some cases flip-flops, I'm like, what am I doing out here in flip-flops? But I'm like crossing rivers and going through streams, and you don't want to wear like tennis shoes, right? So you're like wearing like some sort of shoes, but then you're like all of a sudden going through some like sagebrush, or you're going through some like foxtails or something like that. And next thing you know, you're like, I don't know what's in there. You're like, could there be a rattler in here? Whatever it is. Okay. Can you guys see the feed? Let me know if you guys can see the feed, please. That's what I need to know. Someone said they lost the feed. Wow. If you guys can hear me loud and clear, that would be great to let me know so I can keep this thing going. I apologize about the unstable connection if that's the case. But everyone who lets me know, that's great. Thank you, Mike. You're the man. I appreciate it when someone makes the effort to just say something so simple. Thank you, Mike. Anyway, all right. Wow. Lots of people let me know now. Great. Okay. Thank you so much, everybody. All right. We got an interactive crowd out there today. But yeah, the rattlesnakes, that's the big issue. Then I personally have had an issue with scorpions. I remember one time when I was a kid, I was just playing with some toys. I was like playing with G.I. Joes, and I had like a little blanket around me, a little blankie, playing with G.I. Joes. And all of a sudden I put my knee down, and then boom, I got stung on the kneecap, because I was just, kneeling down playing with G.I. Joes under a blanket. There was a scorpion. And it got me, and my leg itched for about 2 weeks. Right when it happened, I remember my mom freaked out. She called like the doctor, and they're like, my son just got bit or stung by a scorpion. What do we need to do? They told him, how big is it? That was like the question, because I guess the little ones are more venomous than the big ones. But she was like, oh, it was a big one. They're like, okay, just put some ice on it, keep an eye on it. If it swells, then bring him in. But other than that, he should be fine. That thing itched for like 2 weeks afterwards, pretty hard. And then it just went away. But, some people can have an allergic reaction to bark scorpions. Then there's black widows. The black widows, if you guys don't know what a black widow is, you will know it's a black widow web because they spin it like a cylinder, like a little funnel into the ground. And you'll see the black widow. It's black and it's got a little red dot on the bottom. Those are suckers, man. You got to watch out for those. Ooh, those are scary ones. They're like that big, but it's got a neurotoxin venom. And then you've got a brown recluse. I know someone who got bit by a brown recluse, and then like it started out as like what you would see with any other bug bite, but then it like kind of started rotting his leg. Oh man, those are dangerous if you get bitten by one of those. Then there's this Gila monster. Gila monster is like this lizard. It's a beautiful looking lizard. It's kind of colorful, but man, those things, if they grab onto you, they won't let go. And they've got like a venomous. It's a venomous lizard, and so that's how it kills its prey. But they're very rare. And they're very slow. So, I mean, if you got most people who get bit by a Gila monster or people who are trying to grab it or something, I mean, very rarely would you have any other encounter with it. Now, people always ask, are coyotes deadly? They're deadly to your dogs. They're deadly to your cats. They're deadly to your birds. They're deadly to your, hamsters if you let them play in the backyard. But they're not usually deadly to humans. I don't think I've ever heard of a deadly coyote attack. The only time you might have to worry about a coyote is if he's got rabies. That would be a dangerous situation if one's like, a little bit rabid, okay? But mountain lions, they are rare in Arizona, but if you do have an encounter with a mountain lion, they can't kill you, especially a big old mountain lion that's really hungry. But it's rare. I mean, it happens, but it's rare. And then, believe it or not, we have Africanized killer bees in Arizona. Killer bees are, I remember back in the 90s, early 2000s, that when they first arrived, we were like, how'd the Africanized killer bees get here? The thing with those is they're in swarms. I don't know, man. It's crazy. Thanks to everyone who's smashing up the likes. And I see you guys letting me know. Someone said, can't mistake a black widow. They look like black patent leather wicked spider. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Brown recluse or a black widow, both pretty difficult ones to get bitten or stung by. Okay, I want to talk about the extreme environment again one more time because there is something that I missed on the last one aside from the extreme heat. Hypothermia in the desert has killed, okay? Especially in southern Arizona, a lot of migrants, they come over the border, they're coming up into Arizona in the winter time, and everyone thinks, oh, it's Arizona, it's going to be hot, it's hot. No, in the desert, I don't know if any of you guys live in Arizona, if you lived in Arizona, but the desert gets cold in January and February, especially like 3 or 4 in the morning, super cold, like below freezing. It's a different type of cold too. Like we're talking like maybe Wisconsin can get below freezing, but Arizona at like 28 degrees can maybe feel a little bit more painful and a little bit more wicked. So that if you're someone who's like camping in the wintertime, take that into consideration. It could get real cold, and people have gotten hypothermia in the desert. So cold nights in the desert are wicked. And that's one thing that kills a lot of plants. That's one of the reasons why Arizona is a desert. It's not just because it's so hot, because a lot of places are really hot and they have a lot of trees. I mean, it gets real hot in the Amazon. It gets real hot in Borneo. It gets real hot in Costa Rica. But the thing is, it doesn't get below freezing. So that getting below freezing and the hot, that polarity is what creates the desert. Not a lot of things can be drought tolerant as well as cold tolerant. That's what causes it to be a desert. So that cold part will kill a lot of your plants in your backyard. You'll see like it'll kill a plumeria tree, it'll kill a mango, it'll kill a banana plant. It'll kill most of your tropical plants. That cold winters, okay? It doesn't always get like, I don't think this last winter we got too far below freezing like we had in the years past, but you know what I'm saying. Another thing is dust storms. Now, dust storms are interesting because sure, you could get into a situation where you're driving and have a situation happen where it's low visibility because of the dust, but that typically doesn't cause the big problem. It's the respiratory issue that comes from that. One of the things that's carried in the dust in Arizona is what's called valley fever. There's another one called hantavirus. There's different types of spores and funguses that can actually be in dust. So that's what can cause some respiratory issues. There's people who've gotten the valley fever. Their dogs have gotten valley fever. I mean, I'm not trying to scare anyone with this, but that's probably a big one. Okay. So dust storms. I mean, anytime there's a dust storm, I'm like, go inside, just go inside. And it's not because I'm scared of the dust or scared of the dust storm, because it's really just like a wall of dust. It just kind of like slows everything down. It's like you're living in this abyss and then it just passes over in a monsoon. But the thing is, it's the dust in the air that you got to really watch out for. And then the other thing is these things called flash floods. They're sudden and they just come over a wash, they come over a creek, they come over anywhere that's dried up, and they're like a wall of water, and they'll wash your car down. Sometimes people will be like, oh, I'll just cross right here. They try and cross, next thing you know, their car's going down. And then, then here comes the helicopters and all this stuff to save the day. But, we've seen this happen. So flash floods, anytime a monsoon comes, pay attention to the washes, the creeks, if they're dry. Look upstream, because there could be a wall of water coming. Sometimes the wall of water comes in real slow like a trickle, but then all of a sudden there's a big wall right behind it. And that's usually, it could be dry where you're at with the wall of water, but it could be raining up on the mountain, and that rainwater that just comes down the mountain. So it can be a bit deceiving at times. You know what I'm saying? Now, one of the big things, it's probably the number one killer in Arizona, is traffic. Okay. So this could probably be said about anywhere, but one thing that Arizona's really struggled with in the past, not just DUIs, but people driving under the influence, but also confusing roadways that cause people to actually go down the wrong way. Like there's people who will, I don't know, they'll take like a Percocet, or they'll take something, whatever they take, some pharmaceutical thing that they take every single day. They'll think, oh, I'm just driving down the road to go to Circle K to go get a water so I can wash it down. But then, believe it or not, they're just a little bit disoriented or a little bit delirious, and they end up going the wrong way down the road because they didn't see the sign or there's not enough signage. So wrong way drivers is a big thing. I'm not saying it's common, but you'll be driving down the road. Sometimes you might see someone driving. You'll be like, there's no way that person is in the lane coming in my direction. He's not driving the wrong way, is he? Wait a second here. That's a wrong way driver. I mean, you could see that's crazy, right? Anyway. Another thing is wildfires. Wildfires, you've seen what's happened in Los Angeles. You saw what just happened to the Grand Canyon. Man, did you see that? What happened to that Grand Canyon Lodge? If you guys go onto our channel, we made a video about the North Rim Grand Canyon, and we went all around that beautiful lodge. That's one of my favorite lodges in all of the country. It's definitely, it was definitely a relic. I mean, that is a beautiful lodge. I mean, you're just sitting there on the Grand Canyon, looking down into it, and you got these like little buildings all to your house self made of rock. That thing burned down. The lodge burned down on the North Rim, the Kaibab. Did you guys see that? Jeez, that was disappointing. That's just sad. I mean, I didn't even expect that. That wasn't on the bingo card for this year to see I thought that place was going to be around forever. I was like, that's a national treasure. Thanks to everyone who smashed up the like. Someone said, I absolutely hate snakes. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of snakes either. Some snakes are good. I mean, bull snakes, king snakes, not so bad, but watch out for the coral snake. Looks just like a king snake. Someone said, what's up, neighbor? Someone said, I just tuned in from Chandler, the best city in Arizona, in my opinion. Nothing is more dangerous than our heat. Yeah, the heat is the dangerous thing. That and driving. I would say heat and driving. But anyway, let's keep this going here. What else you guys got for me? What do you guys think are some dangerous things that I've missed? But I got some more stuff coming up. But the big thing that we need to talk about is, aside from bugs, mammals, drivers, natural disasters, we've got these earth fissures. These are things that you can talk about. We did a video on the volcanoes. A lot of people say, oh, that's blown over. I don't remember exactly how many volcanoes are inactive in Arizona. I'm not saying there's any active volcanoes. There are people out there who say they have seen volcanoes puffing. If you go up to Flagstaff, you go out to Sunset Crater. The reason it's called Sunset Crater and it's all black lava rock is because that whole area around Flagstaff is at one point in time very active. Now, Arizona isn't seismically active as California, but an earthquake could happen, and some areas can become unstable, and earthquakes could happen. An area could become, affected by an earthquake. We haven't had a big earthquake in Arizona in a long time. Obviously, history tells us volcanoes went off. So probably when volcanoes were going off, back when Sunset Crater was created, or when Sunset or San Francisco Peak or Mount Humphreys was blowing off, Yeah, it probably had some earthquakes at that time. But in recent memory, we haven't had that. But the point that I'm making is we don't know if that could happen. Another thing that's possible, along with the volcanoes and the earthquakes, which I'm going to say that's not on the bingo card. Okay, let's just say that. But neither was the Grand Canyon North Rim Lodge on the bingo card. Right? It happened. Monsoon storms. Okay, monsoon storms. Aside from the flash floods, the big thing that I would say was the most dangerous, in my opinion, and this is something that almost got me: lightning strikes. I was out there by Tom's Thumb. If you go onto our Instagram, you can see it on our Instagram. Living in Arizona now on Instagram. I was just sitting there with my phone out filming at Tom's Thumb around like late July back in 2022. And all of a sudden, the structure that I was in got hit with a bolt of lightning while I was filming. Pardon my French when I filmed that. But yeah, lightning strikes, scary, scary. I mean, you could have many monsoon storms and the lightning strikes never come down next to you, but then all of a sudden you get one electrical storm, it'll scare the bejesus out of you at like 2 in the morning or 9 p.m. or 5 in the morning. Sometimes you get them. It just depends on when they're coming, but it can be a real downer. Let's talk about plants. So to be honest with you, probably the worst plant in Arizona is a foreign plant. It's an oleander. They're poisonous. You guys know those flowers. Look, your dog should not be eating oleanders. You shouldn't be trying to eat oleanders. It can cause some serious problems. But they also have other plants like Jimson weed, castor bean plant, poison hemlock, and certain types of cactus actually can be poisonous or psych. I'm not going to say, well, you know what I'm saying. I don't want to get the video flag for saying anything else, but some of those plants can have like a little bit of a neuro effect, if you know what I mean. The cactus in particular. But cactus might not be deadly necessarily, but there are a couple cactuses that you don't want to mess with. One of those being a cholla cactus. If you don't know what a cholla is, just go on Google, type in what's a cholla, Cholla. If you ever see that cactus, do not even get close to those because I don't know what it is about a cholla, but you just getting close to it, it'll get you. It catches on, it gets into your shirt, it gets onto your sock. I mean, just a little bit of cholla just touching you. Next thing you know, you got 10 little chollas things in you and you try and remove it. And then you got more, and it just starts wrapping around your, oh man, cholla is the worst. That is something you don't want to play with. That's probably the worst cactus in the whole desert. That one right there. I mean, you don't want to walk around barefoot in the desert, that's for sure. But and it's because of the cactus. You get these little prickers in you. You guys probably know what I'm talking about with that. But you know, mostly that's pretty much the list of the crazy things that can get you in Arizona. Hopefully, it made sense for you. And thanks to everyone who's smashing up the likes. Let's see. I'll read some comments. Someone said people swear it jumps over on you. Yeah, that's a cholla for you. Chollas, oleanders. Yeah, they're no joke. I know what you're saying. Marshall says, Jeff, I like using white umbrella if I had to be direct sunlight for prolonged period of time. The kind of shade makes world of difference along with plenty of water. Yeah, get an umbrella. If you're one of those types of people who's worried about the heat, get an umbrella. They said the white umbrella, but I think any type of umbrella should be fine. But yeah, an umbrella can make a world of difference. Better than a hat, really. I mean, seriously. Umbrellas are not just for keeping out the rain. You know, in Arizona, you're like, I don't need an umbrella. I live in Arizona. It rains maybe like, I don't know, 30 days out of the year. Well, maybe a little bit more than that. Hopefully we get a monsoon this year, but we'll see what ends up happening. Lisa says, husband says everything here will either prick you, sting you, or bite you. Well, no. It's a joke. It's kind of a joke, but I mean, it's not really a joke. I mean, yeah, there's when it comes to wildlife, the desert, he's not really wrong, but the way it sounds could scare people. Saying it like that, people can get scared. Thanks to the 72 people for smashing up the likes. If you guys get it to 100 likes, I'll keep going. Someone said, I've done a lot of hiking in the desert, and as you are paying attention, you can easily avoid getting too close to a rattler. They aren't aggressive, they're defensive. Well, I mean, one of the things about a rattler is it's got that rattle on the back so you can hear him when he's angry. But the thing is, he could just be hanging out, just kind of sunbaking or whatever. I mean, it depends on where you're hiking, and you get a little too close, and the first reaction that he has right away is, "Woof, get away from me," and he jumps up. I mean, you've seen you can see it on YouTube. Just type in rattlesnake strike. They'll leap. They leap with their mouth open, and they got the fangs, and the fangs, even if they just graze you, they don't necessarily even have to bite you. They just graze you. That's enough to get the venom. Someone says skin cancer is a real threat in Arizona. Those don't take the damage associated with UV rays seriously. Yeah, that's why I had that clothing company. I wanted to keep going with it, where we had UV protecting clothing, because I don't even think sunscreen really protects. You really need like long sleeve shirts. I even got those like Huck or Columbia hats they use for fishing, and you just put it all over your whole head. It's like you'll even see like people who work in construction in Arizona, they'll wear like a full face mask and like a hoodie. But you don't want to get a hoodie that's made out of cotton or wool or something. You want one of those like lightweight, UV resistant nylon type of hoodies that they use for fishing, because that sun, yeah. And Arizona's sun's different than Florida's sun. I'm not saying that it's better or worse, because the sun is the sun, but Arizona's sun is just dry. So there's no humidity. You're not getting any sort of moisture. So it's a real bright, hot sun. But yeah, umbrella hats for roofers. I mean, that's why the cowboy hat. The Cowboys, they were onto something, weren't they? Someone says, watching from Ajo, we watch you a lot before we moved from New York to Arizona. We appreciate your good info. Wow, how did you end up in Ajo from New York? That's got to be a culture shock. Oh my gosh. Well, welcome to Arizona. Congratulations. But how did you end up in Ajo? You ever go down to Y? That whole area right there, Ajo and Y. I mean, it's kind of cool. I'm just curious how you ended up there, not because of any other reason other than just like, that's wild to go from New York to Ajo. Someone said Cocopelli rain dance for the Colorado River. Yeah, the Cocopelli. Cocopelli. If you guys don't know what a Cocopelli is, it's a little flute playing like a theatrical thing. You could say it's mystic. Someone said killer bees are really getting to be a problem throughout the valley. Yeah, I mean, we didn't talk about it, but hornets are also really, I mean, a hornet. Ooh, hornets are terrible. They won't kill you unless you had like a reaction to it. But someone said rattlesnakes always return to the place of birth, even if your house is now there. Found all the time, people's back patios. Yeah, back in the day, they'd handle a rattlesnake, right? I can't do it anymore like that. I think it's illegal, but people used to. I've seen them do it. They had a rattlesnake on the patio. First thing they would do is get the shovel. It wasn't get the gun. It wasn't anything like that. It was get the shovel. And with the shovel, the guy, whoever that snake guy was, who would handle that situation, instead of trying to catch it, they would just go with the shovel and just go, well, boom, to the head. We don't do that anymore. I don't think you can, but I'm just saying, back when I was a kid, I knew some people who would do that. So someone said, what area of Arizona do you live? Sounds like you've been all over Arizona. I grew up in the Phoenix metro area. I grew up in Cave Creek, lived in North Phoenix, lived in the Desert Ridge area, lived in Santan Valley, and now I own a house in Mesa. Sonoran toads will make you feel weird. Yeah. I go ask Mike Tyson about that if you don't know what I'm talking about. I don't know if that's necessarily the Sonoran toad, but it is what it is. Someone said, yep, there's flathead shovel. That's my method here in Southeast Washington. Yeah, I wouldn't recommend that for anyone. Don't say that you heard me say that you do that. I'm not telling anyone to do that, by the way, but I'm just saying, like, yeah. Cocopelli is a Hopi rain dance. Yeah. Says Deborah. The poison hemlock in the valley. I'm not really too familiar with that one. Mojaves are tree climbers. Mojave rattlers, huh? They're tree climbers. You guys know why the baseball team's called the Diamondbacks, right? It's not because of the diamond at the on the baseball field, it's because of the rattlesnake that's got a diamond on its back. there's there's a few different rattlesnake. There's like the Mojave, there's the diamondback, there's the raccoon-tailed diamond snake. Yeah. Someone said, I think it's choya that has a fish hook at the tip. You need a plier to get it out. Keep it wide. Well, the thing is with a choya, you're not just going to get one of those. You're going to get like 10 to 15 little, or maybe more. I mean, oh my gosh. It's crazy because like golfers, when they come out here to Arizona, if you build a golf course in Arizona, do not put Toyas next to the golf course at all, period. Do not do it. I know like True North, they try to keep the natural desert in place, but what happens is someone comes in, they arrive they're coming from New York, they're all excited, playing a beautiful course. It's 72 degrees in North Scottsdale, and they shank their ball to end up in the desert, and they got a little cactus, so they're sitting there with their golf club trying to get it out. Next thing you know, he touches the choya cactus, just barely touches the choya. Next thing you know, he's got a whole arm of choya right here. And all his buddies are like, hey, how we get this? First thing they do is they grab a stick and they're like, oh, he's like, nope, that's not working. And now he's got more choya on him because the choya came around the other side of the arm. Go look it up online. It's crazy. I'm just saying this is what happens with choyas. Blacktail rattler. Yep. Someone said, I think it's choya. Oh, got out of the car in a nature reserve near Roswell, New Mexico in April this year. Took 3 steps, almost stepped on a rattlesnake. I'm from the Netherlands and we hardly have snakes. Whew. Are you sure it was a rattlesnake? Like, how do you know it was a rattler? Not all snakes are rattlers. I'm not questioning your story. I'm just saying, like, just because you see a snake doesn't mean it's a rattlesnake. Could be a king snake. I mean, could be a bull snake. Could be hopefully it's not a coral snake either, because those are quite dangerous. I mean, I remember one time the biggest snake I ever seen was probably a bull snake in Arizona, and that's not a rattler. Yeah, no, I believe it. I believe it, man. I for sure believe it. I'm just saying to everyone else out there, if you see a snake, doesn't always mean it's a rattlesnake. Thank you to everyone who's smashing up the likes. We're almost to 100. I'll keep going. So what are you supposed to do if you find a rattlesnake in your yard? Well, I would say probably call animal control. Stay away from it. Get the dog in the house. Get the kids in the house, and yeah, wait for animal control to come. That's the protocol right now. Back in the day, what they would do is they would call dad. Dad would come out with the flathead shovel. He would say, hey, kids, go get me the flathead. The kids would come back with the flathead. They get the flathead from the garage. Dad would sit there and go head to head, toe to toe with the old rattlesnake, and then go mano a mano. And he was just looking to put that flathead shovel right there on the back of his head. But you don't do that, okay? Just saying, that's the old school way. That's how the rattlesnake wranglers would do it. That's how you end up with those people who got those pieces of wood with the rattlesnake skin on it, and they put the salt on it. You know, that's how they do that, because they're like, yeah, that's the 6-footer that was in the backyard back about 3 weeks ago. We put them on that piece of wood now. Yeah, I'm not saying to touch a rattlesnake like that. I'm just saying the way the rattlesnake wranglers, the way the old people in the West used to do it. Okay, I get it. Nowadays, PETA is everywhere. Okay, you can't do that. Someone said rattlesnake tastes good. Someone said firefighters do it. Yeah, I mean, people still do it the old school way, but you're supposed to call animal control. And if you don't have any experience with rattlesnakes, yeah, you definitely don't want to be trying to go mano a mano with a shovel with a rattlesnake, because they're quick. They're pretty quick. Yeah, leave the shovel out of it. Um, Someone said, if you lose a ball off either side of the fairway, I just call lost ball, take the penalty, and drop a new ball. Yeah, because if you go off into the desert, like in some of those desert courses, you've got cactus out there. I mean, I'll do it. I grew up in the desert, so I'm used to walking around the desert. It doesn't intimidate me. Um, But yeah, the things in the desert that you got to watch out for once you're out there in a thick desert, especially like in April or May, that's when it's the worst because it's still like, it's green. So there's still like a lot of like plants out there. The desert's kind of like shaded and covered, but also the critters, the reptiles in particular, are waking up because it's starting to warm up. So yeah, you got to watch it out there, huh? Someone said, "Okay, Susan, thank you. We get it. That's why I said don't do that. Thank you, Susan." Um, Sean says, "Is running out of water a serious concern, or is it a bit overblown and dramatized?" Well, yes, it is overblown to some extent, but also it's serious. Someone said, "Does the animal control charge you?" That's a good question. I don't know actually. But yeah, I mean if you have a rattlesnake in your backyard, you have no choice but to call animal control because that rattlesnake's your kids could be at risk, your dogs, your pets could be at risk. I mean, I know someone who my friend, his dog got his mom's dog got bit by a rattlesnake, you know? um and again, these are people who like they want to coexist with the snake. They want to, they're like their animal rights, all that stuff. They want to follow the laws. They don't want to hurt the wildlife. They want to coexist. But then when the family dog gets his leg amputated because he got bit by a rattlesnake, it's kind of like, well, all right, we got to draw the line somewhere. It's kind of like, with termites. It's like you got termites. You could let the termites coexist, or you could call the Orkin man. You know, if you got an it's like, where do you draw the line between, you know, what's okay, what's an infestation, what's a problem, what's a pest, and then what's allowed to coexist alongside you. It's kind of like, you're living in a desert, so you're going to have coyotes, you're going to have javelinas, you're going to have bobcats, you're going to have mountain lions, you're going to have, all these different things, rattlesnakes coming into your backyard. Maybe I'm talking about people who are living in the mountains, in the foothills, not people who are living in the cities. If you live in the city, you're not going to have any of that. You're going to have other things to worry about. Probably people, you got to lock your car kind of deal. Susan says $7,000 is the figure I've heard if you're bitten. Ooh, boy, that's no good. Yeah, if you got, I mean, it's like $300 to the pest control guy, or the animal control, or $7,000 if you get bitten, or your dog or your kid. Yeah, not good. Jay says, Jeff, you call 911 in the West Valley, and the fire department comes out and picks it up. Okay, there you go. There you go. There you go. Call 911. Call the fire department. That's good. Thank you, Jay, for that. I've been living in Mesa, so I haven't had any rattlesnakes come up because they don't come out to Mesa anymore. Yeah, oh yeah, I've seen a bobcat eat I've seen bobcat. Bobcats are the craziest little cat, man. I've seen bobcats eat snake. It's like if you see a bobcat and a snake going head to head, the odds the bobcat's going to get that snake are like really high. Bobcats are like expert hunters. They're like precision strikers. But also bobcats are so interesting because I've seen bobcats at the top of saguaros. Like, how the heck did the bobcat get to the top of a saguaro without getting, it's just like sitting up there like that, on the top of a saguaro. You guys ever seen that? Someone said, "Do I hunt?" No, I don't. Not really. I mean, have I ever done like hunting? No, not really. Um, Fishing, obviously, like, you know, hunting for marlin, but that's fishing. Um, Someone said, I can deal with mountain lions, bobcats, bears, rattlers here in Montana. No worries. I hate spiders. We have brown recluse, black widows, and some creepy orb spiders. Yeah, geez. I mean, does Montana have rattlesnakes? Those rattlesnakes buzz freeze their butts off in the wintertime. My goodness. Um, TW says snakes do not taste good. I wouldn't know. I've never actually tried a snake. I have no interest in trying snake. Ever since I was a kid, I was like, they used to say, "Oh, rattlesnake tastes like chicken." There was this place in northern, up in Scottsdale. I don't know if you guys remember it. It's called Rawhide. I think Rawhide's down in like Chandler now or something like that. But the real Rawhide was up in Scottsdale off of Scottsdale Road and around Pinnacle Peak. Or no, I'm sorry, Pima Road in Pinnacle Peak and Pima. That's what we call it. But there was this big rawhide. It was this old Western village area. And one of the things they had on the menu over there was rattlesnake. And yeah, that was back in the day. But they'd always tell me, they'd be like, "You sure you don't want to try any rattlesnake? Tastes just like chicken." I'd be like, "No, I don't want to try rattlesnake." P says rattlesnake is delicious. Wow. Okay. I mean, does it, in some countries, they'll tell you like, "Oh, if you eat that scorpion, it makes your muscles big. It gives you a testosterone boost or something." You know, they'll try to say, "Oh, if you eat cobra," like in Vietnam, they'll say like they eat the heart of the cobra and they take the heart of the cobra and it's still beating. They put it into like a vodka or something and they drink it. And then and you're like, "Why would you do that? Why would you do that?" And then they say, "Oh, it makes you strong." I'd be like, "No, no, I'm good on that." Someone said, "I heard bears killed a man unprovoked in Prescott like 2 years ago." Yeah, I heard about that. And then there was one in like Mount Lemon. Some bear attack happened. Bears, the bears. I mean, if you go around like Mount Lemon, for example, the bears are so small, but the older they get, and if they're a male, they can get pretty big. But it's the mama bear with the cubs you still got to watch out for. A bear is a bear; it's a wild animal, and they can be strong. Someone said bitten in 2011 by a rattlesnake. Hospital tab was $245,000. Oh my gosh! What? How the heck? Must have been like a life or death situation. Wow. No, it just says, "Looking forward to visiting Arizona in April. Hope I don't meet another rattler." You'll be all right. You'll be all right. Hopefully. Hopefully you'll be all right. But yeah, rattlesnakes. Not fun. Someone said chicken is a texture, not a taste. That's a good point. I mean, when I think about chicken, I think like, like a little bit of salt, a little bit of soy sauce, maybe a little bit of like lemon. I don't know, maybe some picante or something like that. But now that you mention it, I think if you didn't season or salt or put any flavor on chicken, it probably doesn't have a flavor. Steak does. Beef. Pork. Ah, I don't think I'd eat pork without season either. Um, Someone said the ears might be smaller up on Mount Lemon, but wouldn't push my luck with that one. Yeah. Someone said grizz are sketchy. We don't have grizzlies in Arizona. From last I heard, all the grizzlies were done. They did reintroduce wolves to Arizona, so we'll see what ends up happening with that. Someone said, "If you kill a rattler, fine, but if that dying snake bites itself, you do not eat it. Can you figure out what?" Oh, I don't know. I have no idea. Someone said anti-venom can be 7,000 to 12,000 per vial, and you can go through 10 to 20 vials. It adds up quick. So I guess that's not something that insurance will cover. I mean, don't people have insurance that covers something like that? I mean, geez, 7 to 10. Like, how much does it cost to manufacture a vial of anti-venom? Like 7 to 10. I gotta. That's a question for Chat GPT. How much is a vial of rattlesnake anti-venom? I'm shocked that you just said that, because I believe it, but I'm just shocked. I want to get 3 to 5,000 per vial, and it says a full treatment can require 4 to 20 vials depending on the severity of the bite. Wow. Total bill for rattlesnake bite, $50 to $100,000, 150,000. Wow. Insurance may cover a significant portion of it, but out-of-pocket expenses can still be high. And there you go. Today I learned. Anyways, guys, I'm going to get going. Thanks for watching and smashing up the likes. We'll see you on the next one. Book a call if you guys want to do a one-on-one conversation talking about where's best for you to move in Arizona or best to live, whether you live here or you're looking to move. Let me know in the comments or book a call. It's going to be a link in the comments and in the description. Also on the homepage, there's the video on the intro. You guys can watch that. There's a link there. So look forward to talking to some of you. See ya.